Putin is constantly throwing all sorts of nonsense at us. If you want the truth, he was always very polite. But as it turns out, that means nothing.
It seems the ice has started to move. For the first time since returning to the White House, Donald Trump has begun to take steps that could truly change the course of the war in Ukraine. And these steps are in Kyiv's direction.
We are not happy with Putin. I am not happy with Putin. I can tell you that quite frankly right now, because he's killing a lot of people, and many of them are his own soldiers, mostly his soldiers and their soldiers. Right now, the death toll is already up to 7,000 a week. I am not happy with Putin. Are there any other questions?
Yes, sir, you just said that you are not happy with Vladimir Putin. Do you plan to take any action?
Don't we want to arrange a little surprise?
At the same time, the White House is considering options for aid to Ukraine. The priority is the protection of Ukrainian airspace. Among other things, according to the Wall Street Journal, Trump is considering providing Ukraine with an additional Patriot air defense system. This could become the first major arms delivery not tied to a decision by the Biden administration, and at the same time a signal that the US is back.
We are going to send more weapons. They must be able to defend themselves. Right now they are being hit very hard. We will have to send more weapons. Yes, mostly of a defensive nature.
We have found ourselves in a certain spiral, and it is very important that it works for us, not against us. And in the situation where Ukraine is now working diplomatically with the United States, it is very difficult to figure out whether this is in some sense a plus, in what sense it is a neutral pace, or in what sense it might even be harmful.
As we remember, Ukraine received a blow to the gut from the US in the first days of July. Across the ocean, they partially suspended arms deliveries to Kyiv, from Patriot interceptor missiles to ammunition for F-16s. At that time, Trump claimed that Biden had supposedly depleted the country, but later it turned out that the decision to freeze supplies was a surprise even to his own circle. According to CNN, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth did not inform either Trump himself or his advisors about this. Special Representative for Ukraine Keller, the Secretary of State, and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio learned about the suspension of supplies from the news. The 47th president himself publicly stated that he is not responsible for this decision. But that's not all. The aggressor country may be facing a devastating blow. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has initiated a new package of sanctions against Russia. In particular, the document provides for a 500% tariff on imports from countries that continue to purchase Russian oil and raw materials.
I'm considering it. Yes, I'm considering it. The Senate has adopted and continues to adopt very tough sanctions. But yes, I'm considering it.
If we simply forecast the situation and Graham's bill is passed, what will that mean? Where will Russia get the money? What will be cut? I would predict that first and foremost, any expenses not related to the country's military-industrial complex will be further slashed. Again, that means healthcare, education, and pension spending. At the same time, they will try to maintain spending on the military-industrial complex. Their cuts will have to be made as well, perhaps not as significantly as one might wish, but cuts will be necessary. And the only thing I would suggest is that, for example, instead of the current $150 billion, if, say, this revenue drops by at least a quarter, it means that they will try to make up 2/3 of it at the expense of the social sector. There will be a massive global decline there, but 1/3 will still have to be shifted to the sector related to the military-industrial complex. And this is at least a loss of about 15% out of that $150 billion.
Meanwhile, a scandalous audio recording from 2024 has surfaced, published by CNN. In it, Trump tells donors how he threatened Putin and Xi Jinping with direct threats of bombings in the event of attacks on Ukraine and Taiwan.
I told Putin, if you go into Ukraine, I will bomb Moscow to hell. I'm telling you, I won't have a choice. And he was like, I don't believe you. He said, not a chance. And I told him, oh, you better believe it. He said again, I don't believe you. But the truth is, he did believe me. Well, about 10%. I told you, he believed me about 10%. Then I met with Xi from China and told him the same thing. If you attack Taiwan, I'll bomb Beijing to hell. He thought I was crazy. He asked Beijing, I replied, I have no choice, I'll have to bomb you, we'll bomb Beijing. He didn't believe me either, but he still believed me about 10%. And 10% is still something. And 10% is all you need. Honestly, even 5% would have been enough.
Is this part of a political game or a serious turning point? For now, we can only hope that the US has truly come to its senses and does not intend to back down in the fight for justice. But only time will reveal the real answer. Meanwhile, the fate of Ukraine and the security of the entire continent remain in the balance, where every next step by Washington carries enormous weight.
US President Trump stated that he is dissatisfied with his phone conversation with Putin, so he will send more weapons to Ukraine.
Honestly, I am disappointed that Putin did not stop the war. I am not at all satisfied with Putin. This doesn't suit me either. We are going to send a bit more weapons to Ukraine. We have to. They must have the ability to defend themselves. Right now, they are taking heavy hits. They have suffered greatly, and we will have to send more weapons.
Most likely, Trump used the suspension of one aid package to Ukraine as a way to appease Putin ahead of their phone conversation, which took place from the 3rd to the 4th. From the 3rd to the 4th. And this just shows that Trump did not achieve the desired diplomatic effect from this decision.
The statement also appeared on the Pentagon's website. That is, Ukraine should soon receive the previously delayed ammunition for air defense systems.
By the direct order of President Donald Trump, the United States Department of Defense is actively sending additional crucial defensive weapons and vital military aid to Ukraine to ensure that the brave Ukrainians can effectively defend themselves and their sovereign nation, while we diligently work to secure a lasting and comprehensive peace and definitively put an end to the tragic killings. Our work to assess military supplies around the world remains in force and is an integral part of our defense priorities. America first.
Previously, the White House stated that it had suspended arms shipments around the world, allegedly because of shortages in US stockpiles. But this information was not confirmed.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
It was a standard Pentagon review of all weapons, all aid, and all support that the United States provides to all countries and all regions around the world, not just Ukraine. When the Secretary of Defense took office, he instructed the Pentagon to conduct this review to ensure that everything leaving the country aligns with America's interests.
There was more negativity from this suspension directly for Trump's reputation, for his support. It caused a very serious turbulence within the American political establishment.
For now, the US is willing to send weapons only for defensive purposes, so as not to damage Trump's image as a peacemaker. But the situation could change if the Europeans start acting more proactively.
Most likely, it is absolutely necessary to bring our European partners to the very front line, as they should clearly demonstrate a proactive and assertive stance on offensive weaponry. While, for example, Germany could decide to provide Ukraine with Taurus missiles, which in this context would allow the United States to avoid saying that their weapons are not defensive but offensive, that they are there, and that it is not adding fuel to the fire.
No matter how hard Putin tries, no one in the civilized world will ever accept his position, especially with the ongoing shelling and killing of civilians.